And
actually, I am still the.
hi, and welcome to today's presentation of the PASS virtual chapter. We're glad that you're here, and especially glad that we have a presentation today on SSIS programming. And Jemini is going to speak in just a few minutes. I have some housekeeping items to go over, and then we'll move right into the presentation. So if you'll just bear with me for a minute or two, that would be great to go over a couple introductory slides. I know many of you may have been attending the PASS Summit or have wished you attended, so we'll skip over some of those items as we get to it. So just a couple mention, there is a world of opportunities from a virtual chapter standpoint. If you'll notice on the screen that you'll see is that basically within the PASS umbrella, there's tons of virtual chapters that are available for you to join and to actually participate in. We're always looking for volunteers to speak at the virtual chapters. Feel free to shoot us an email and I'll get the contact information at the end. But again, there's tons of other virtual chapters. Feel free to go ahead and participate in those different opportunities also. And moving on, there's talking about virtual chapters in general. Here's a list. Of course, some of these, one of them's taking place right now is the one that we're about to do, but you'll see there's plenty of other opportunities that the virtual chapters offer for free training and events. You'll notice that the DBA fundamentals, they're held on every Tuesdays. The performance virtual chapters held the fourth Thursday of every month. And the DBA webinars are held the second Wednesday. So we do try to spread them out, but again, always go out to the PASS website. You'll be more than overwhelmed with the number of opportunities for training that are out there and available. In addition to the PASS virtual chapters, there's also SQL Saturdays. A couple of them already taken place and I've got them crossed out there, but there's a list. If you go to SQLSaturday.com, you can see when the next event in your year is. These are, again, perfect opportunities to take advantage of free training that's made available to you. Again, I mentioned earlier, we always would love you to join a local chapter, and this is an in-person, face-to-face opportunity. So in addition to the virtual chapters in plenty of cities around the world, there's opportunities for you to join a local chapter, and they also will have face-to-face training opportunities. And these local chapters generally are those folks that drive the SQL Saturday events. So again, there's plenty of opportunities to stay involved. Again, if you would like to volunteer, please shoot an email or go to the volunteer website. Ours is the PASS BI virtual chapter. You're more than welcome to get in touch with us by going to our website, which is the bi.sqlpass.org. Down the bottom there's a way to get in touch with us, and we'd love to have you either speak at the virtual chapter webinars like what we're doing right now, or if you want to help, we always have opportunities for hosting, marketing, and things of such. So again, volunteer. At this point, just kind of mentioned that there's, of course, always ways to stay involved with PASS. You can use the LinkedIn, you can use Facebook, Twitter, and then of course the PASS website, which is the www.sqlpass.org. It's free, again, and gives you a perfect opportunity to stay involved with the SQL Server community. At this point, I'm actually going to turn it over to Jemini Joseph, and he's going to speak about 45 minutes, 50 minutes on the topic of SSIS programming. And then what we'll do is we'll have a time frame for Q&A. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A or the questions panel in your GoToWebinar window and go ahead and log those there. And if you'll bear with us for a minute, I'm going to make Jemini the presenter, and it'll take a second. The screen will go blank, and we'll get things all moved over for him to go ahead and take over. So just give me a second, we'll do that. And then Jemini, I made you the presenter, so it should take a second. Hopefully you can share your screen and such, and let me know if you can't. And I see your screen, so you're good, definitely.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this little presentation about SSIS programming. My name is Jemini Joseph, and I have been working as a BI consultant for over 8 years. And before that, I worked in SQL Server 2000 Cube, and so I've been in the BI field more than 10 years. Before that, I was working as a programmer, primarily in Visual Basic. I never worked in .NET or any object-oriented programming. So it's interesting. Actually, I'm going to show you some programming, and my programs are not going to be the best programs out in the world, but it works. All right, so let's go to the presentation. All right, so about me, as I said, I'm a BI consultant and working as an independent consultant now, working in the Tampa, Florida, US area. Before that, for around 10 years, I was in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. And this is my contact information, Jemini Joseph at bi-datasolutions.com. That is my personal email ID. You can contact me even after the presentation for any questions. I will try to help as much as I can. And this is my LinkedIn page, linkedin.com, IN Jemini Joseph. And besides programming, you know, my next hobby is nature photography. I take wildlife pictures. That's what I do to relax. So what is it? This is, the presentation is going to be how to read SSIS packages programmatically using C#. So I'm using C# script. So we don't have to have the full Visual Studio, but if you do, that's going to be even better. So I'm going to read and analyze SSIS packages, explore the object models, explore all the classes, explore all the properties. And the second portion of it is creating SSIS 2012 or 2014 packages and deploy it using the new project deployment model. So it is the first two things. I'll explain why. Combined, the third one is convert a 2008 package into 2012 or 2014. I'm going to say 2012 and 2014 once in a while, but it's exactly the same. So the SSIS, integration services, catalog, and everything remained same between 2012 and 2014. So my demo will work in both 2012 and 2014. So I may use sometimes 2012 or 2014 because at home I do have 2014. At work I use 2012 right now. So I know that it works in both places. So why? Why do I do this, or why do we have to do it? Or it may be interesting, and what are the reasons we may have to try this? My previous client had a requirement. Actually, my manager often come to us and ask, okay, what package update or insert records into a particular table? Of course, like any other company, we have hundreds of packages, and the package names often doesn't match with the table name, or the one package may be updating multiple tables. So it is almost impossible to predict or know the exact package name, what is touching a particular table, unless you developed all those packages. Still, after so many years, so many packages, it is almost impossible to remember those package names. So we used to open packages, we think it may be updating that table. After opening so many packages, go into the data flow, sometimes into the store procedure, execute SQL statement, find all those things, and eventually we may find the table. The problem is that even then, it is possible that more than one package touching a table. So at that client, we decided to try this. Okay, why don't we open hundreds of packages and read through it and find what package or which package is touching what table. We tried it, it worked. So it was a very interesting project for me. My next client, where I'm working now, right now, we had to convert a lot of 2008 packages to 2012 and 2014, actually 2012. We had a time issue. We had to do it within 6 months. We were few programmers working together. So just to convert a package into 2012, it's easy. You can just pull the package into the new project. But then if you want to deploy it into the new project deployment model, you have to convert those configurations. You have to convert, put the parameters, which is brand new for 2012, 2014. Then the configurations, environment, you have to create the environments, which is totally different from 2008. Populate all these values, test all the packages, etc. So it was time consuming. So that time I started thinking about, okay, because we can read the package programmatically, why can't I create a package in 2012? And combining these two, we can create something like, a little script, or not very little, a script that converts 2008 packages to 2012 or 2014. So that's what it is, and that's why it is. To do this, we don't need a lot of tools. Everything we need for this one, most of us will already have. So we have to have SQL Server 2008 installed, including the SDK, which is very important. Because when you install SQL Server, there's an option you want to install SDK or not. Usually we don't install it, especially on the server. There is no reason to have it. But the SQL Server Developer Edition, you have to install SDK. Same with 2012 or 2014. Install the SDK and the database engine. Then of course, if we need the SQL Server data tools, that's what I'm using to write and execute this script. I'm using C# script component inside SSIS to do this. Then, yeah, of course, we need little knowledge of C# or VB.NET scripting. You don't have to be an expert in programming. I am not. Like I said, I did programming a long time ago using plain Visual Basic 6 sequential programming. It's not object-oriented, but it works. That's what I'm doing. My program is not at best of the world, but it works. So we are doing SSIS, opening SSIS, reading SSIS, creating SSIS, everything inside SSIS itself using C# script. So this slide, I don't think I have to go into a lot of details, because I know that if you are working in SSIS, you already know the architecture of SSIS packages. We do have the control flow, and within control flow there are different controls. It can be executables, tasks, whatever it is called, plus containers. And the most important portion of an SSIS package, 90% of the packages will have data flow task, which pull data from one source, put it into a different source, or maybe the same server, but going into a different destination. So I try to create some samples for all these controls. Okay, so the controls in a package. So the control flow objects. Now this is getting more technical. Any executable, like a data flow task or exec SQL statement, exec SQL task, it's called task host. That's what it is. Then we do have containers, which is for each loop and sequence. Then inside data flow objects, there are data flow controls. There can be source, destination, transformation, many other controls, right? Inside data flow, there are paths between data flow objects. So from the source to the next control, there's a path. That is the tunnel where the data is flowing through. Again, I'm pretty sure you are aware of all those things. Then the precedence constraints at the control flow level. Then one thing I've learned during this process, when you start reading these packages, none of these these controls in any particular order. So when you read it, you may get the destination control first and then the source control. So when you try to copy this package, you have to be really careful, because if you try to create in the same order, it may not work, because it won't have the information to populate that particular control. Then between 2005, 2008 and 2012, 2014, the deployment model has changed. That's one of the biggest difference between these two platforms. 2005, 2008, it was package deployment. So we used to deploy individual packages. Even though we had project in Visual Studio, we create multiple packages. Individual packages used to be deployed. And the configuration for each package, even though you can share the same information inside the table, the configuration inside a package is going to be individually wired. In 2012, 2014, we are using the project deployment model. And the configuration, which is called environment, it is different from, totally different from 2008, 2005, can be shared between packages inside the same project. So the environment is associated to a project, and the configuration information saved in the environment, it is saved between all those packages inside the project. And it uses the new SSIS DB database and integration services catalog. I hope you know these things already. So the way we create a brand new package using these objects, first you have to create the SSIS DB and folder on the 2014 box, which means SSIS DB, I mean, most of the cases, it will be already there. You have to turn it on. The integration catalog should be there. Then every time you deploy a project, you create a folder. I mean, same folder can have multiple projects, but assuming that one project goes into one folder, you have to create that folder. After that, you create the project and then create new package or copy 2000 package, 2008 package into the new package. Then inside the project, we create parameters, which is also brand new for 2012 or 2014. So those parameters are kind of the replacement for the configuration values or those variables we used to configure. Say connection parameter, connection string, for example, it used to be a variable in 2008, 2005. Now it is a project level variable, which is called parameters. Then we had to deploy the project to the SSIS DB, to the server. After that, you create something called environment. The environment is shared between the packages inside the project. Then those environment, we hold or put all the values that should be shared between these packages. Then we wire that environment to the project. So there is a reference goes from the project to the environment and environment to the project. And usually, I mean, you can do it in a different way. You can directly link an environment variable to a connection string or something inside the package, or you can link those environment variable to a parameter, and within the package you can use that parameter as an expression. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a connection string as a parameter in the project. Then my environment will be connected to that variable parameter. That parameter will be linked to an expression for the connection, and then I will configure it. Now, when you copy or read 2008 package, this is the order, like we have to execute. First, you read the connections. So remember, like all the connections for a package, it will be inside the package. Even though you create the project level connections, it will hard-coded inside the package. So the package goes with that, the package carries that connection. So you read the connection managers, then you read through the control flow. And if the control flow is a task host, like I said, executable, that is execute SQL or data flow task, we copy it. I'm talking about, like reading and copying. Then the control container is, if the control is a container, then we have to loop through that container and find all the executable inside that. So the container itself, you can treat it as like a package. So there is precedence constraints inside the control flow. So you can have a package with direct controls inside, or package with containers, and containers contain all the controls. I have examples for those two scenarios. Then the precedence constraints, after finishing or copying all the controls inside the container or the package, then we create the precedence constraints. If the control flow is a data flow task, that's where most of the work need to be done. That was the toughest part for me to code it. I had issues. Some of the things I'll try to explain depending on the time, how much time we have here. Inside the data flow task, you copy the control. After finishing all the controls, like you assume that there are 10 controls or 5 controls, you copy the path between those objects and propagate those values. That's when individual controls get the input columns. That's where you press the metadata to get the column. Then at the end, you do the destination, find the destination controls, and do the mapping to the external table. That's the order we have to execute it. So to do this, there are some reference libraries, of course. I listed it here. You can see some of them are saying 120, 12, some numbers here. So 100 means in the SDK folder, 100 means SQL Server 2008. So if you need to have any specific library for 2008, you have to look into this 100 folder. And if it is 110, which is 2012, and 120 means 2014. So I did everything in 2014. You can see I am referencing those libraries here. And there are some libraries in global assembly cache, and there the version naming is different. So 12 means 2014, and 11 means 2012. I didn't have to use any 2008 from GAC. I didn't see anything. Maybe it's a new thing, with the 2012 and 2014. So these are the libraries. You can use them. You can you have to add the reference inside the script, and then you'll be able to code it. Then the namespaces. Once you include those libraries, once you add references to those libraries, you can code this. This is C#. So these are the namespaces you have to add. So you can see the pipeline wrapper, which is one of the most important component. Integration services. This SMO, some of them are specifically for 2012 and 2014. Some of them are the pipeline wrapper. It was for 2008. So when if you just want to read, I don't think the integration services is required. Management SMO is required, but pipeline wrapper and runtime, you need it. The system collection is actually a C# array kind of things, like it's common objects. All right. So some code samples. To open a package and read it, this is what you do. You declare a variable as object, which is very generic. It doesn't have any SSIS mark to it, any SSIS properties to that object at that time. Then you create an application using this Microsoft SQL Server DTS runtime application. Then runtime package, source package. You create a package, open the package, and create a package variable, and load that package using the package file name. So that application will have a function called load package. You have to pass the file name, and this is I'm reading from the file system. Okay, that I'm talking about later. I'm not reading it from MSDB at this point. This demo doesn't include that. So I'm reading from the file system. Then you can loop through executables inside that package variable I created, source package.executables. So for each count, so everything inside a package, it's an executable. Okay, so and I assign that executable to obj, which is an object. At that point, it doesn't have any SSIS properties. Then I check the property of that object. So if I convert into a string and check if it is a task host, I know that it can be an execute SQL or data flow task. And if it is a runtime sequence, I know that it's a container, sequence container. So that's how I check it. This is how I read it. So I go through it, then I can read individual. So then I will show you how to convert this object into a particular task host. The task host, then the function, the object, we can convert into task host. So that's a variable, task host variable. You can convert into that task host. That will give an SSIS property or SSIS look for that particular variable. Now, if the inner object, once you convert it, if the inner object is main pipe, that tells me it is a data flow. If the inner object is execute SQL task, that's an execute SQL task. That's how I find a particular executable I received. I read from the package is data flow or execute SQL. To create a control, so this is I'm talking about, if you're creating a brand new package, executable. So that's a variable. With all those references and namespaces we assigned, we can say executable exec SQL equal to that package dot executables dot add. And that's where we specify what type it is. These are the constants in one of those libraries. And if it is data flow, we say start.pipeline task. That's how we create packages, executables inside a package. Now, creating controls in data flow task. This is where the most of the work is going to be. This code actually explains how to create a data source, OLADB source. So I will go through it real quick because I don't know if I can explain every line in detail because we will be out of time because I want to go through the demo too. So the main pipe DST pipeline. So we get the pipeline, main pipe from that executable we created. This is executable we created, DST package. Sorry, data flow task, that's executable we created. And from the data flow task, we get that inner object as a main pipe. And that pipeline, we can add, to that pipeline, we can add control. A component metadata collection is a collection of all those controls inside data flow. I'm sure and I hope you can read through these lines and you can copy paste these lines and you can play with it. And a couple of things, important things about here. When it is an OLADB source or OLADB destination, that will have a runtime connection collection. So we provide that information. The SRCCM, that is a connection object I create further up in the program. We had to assign the connection details as well as a connection manager ID specifically. Then we have to get the design time component, and then we have to provide this key information. Okay, this is the source table, and how do we do this? Source query, or what are going to be the properties? So the component property access mode is equal to 0. That means it's a table. Open row set table name, and table name is a variable. And we have to do these lines. This is a minimum requirement to create a OLADB source. So this 0, access mode 0, that is a table. So open row set 0, which is open row set, and provide name of the table or view. And 1 means open row set from a variable. So that's a table name is a variable. And SQL command, you want to put a select statement, you put 3, and so on. So this information, you can find. Towards the end of the slide, I do have a lot of references, a lot of links, useful links. You can go through and you can find this information. So program flow, more details. So this is actually in the sequence, like how do we create a sequence if required. So first you create a sequence, then you create a task host. Its task host inner object is main pipe, which is a data flow. Get the main pipe, create the component, set the component class ID. This is what it is actually telling it is what kind of control it is. I can show you it here. So the component class ID, DTS adapter, OLADB source. That's when it actually this is going to be an OLADB source. So that component class ID is very important. So once you create the control, that's the first thing you do. You assign the component class ID. Then you set the properties, the access mode, the table name, and if it is a derived column, like expression and all those things. After creating the controls, you create the path. After creating the path, at the end, you map the OLADB destination component. You map the source columns, so the columns from that input to the destination table, destination control. So get the inner object and add connection. So see this destination control also, it's very important. Like you have to have the connection assigned to it and get to the inner object, and you get the external metadata column collection. That is the column collection from the destination table. So you are mapping actually the input from the source control to the external metadata collection law. I'll try to show you the examples for these things. So if it is an execute SQL statement, it's much simpler. So you get the inner object, add the connection, put the SQL statement. It's much less to do work on it. So then after create all the components, controls, you create the precedence constraints between the executor. That's the order we do this. Okay, that brings us to the demo. I do have demo for 3 different things. First, read 2008 packages. Second one is creating 2012 package. It is like hard-coded package. It do a certain thing, not very intuitive. The third thing is actually converting a 2008 to 2014. Before showing you the package, before showing you how it is doing it, I want to show you the source packages. This is SQL Server 2008 packages. You can see the Microsoft Visual Studio, that's bits, BI Studio. So I have 3 packages. One is a simple package which has a execute SQL task and a data flow. Execute SQL task has it's a select statement and it doesn't do anything else. Then there's a data flow component. There's an OLADB source, which is a reading from the connection EDW, reading the table, and the destination is mapping those columns. So it's going from the same connection. You can see that EDW. It's going from address table, dbo.address, edw.address. Again, I will show you edw.address to dbo.student address. So the column names are different. That's why it's the same information, but the column names are different. The mappings are different. You can see the first ID is mapped to student ID. First name is assigned to student first name. Blah blah blah. So I want to prove that like we are really mapping it when we convert it. And you can see in this package actually student full name. There's a field in the destination field, and which will not be populated using this package. And the second package, which is pretty much same thing, but it has a container inside. So it's the same package, same stuff. The third one is the tricky one. This one have a sequence container, a SQL, execute SQL, data flow task. Inside data flow, we have a separate component, which is derived column, which the first name, last name, I convert into a full name field. And at the end, I map that field to the student name field. So when I execute this package, this column will be populated. Otherwise, it won't. These two packages, other 2 packages won't populate that full name field. So these are the source packages. Now, first, I would like to show this one, the reading 2008 package and a detailed report. Report is nothing fancy. It is just plain text file in a formatted text file. And it will show all the properties, whatever we saw so far in this package, it's going to write into a file. So I'm going to execute it. And it reads through those 3 packages and it is done. I'll show you a couple of things inside the package, where I'm reading it from, where I'm writing it to. Sorry, my computer is a little slow. Okay, it's coming up. So my output file location, this is where I am writing that report to. The source location, this is where I keep those 3 packages to read from. And this is my output file. So I'm going to this folder. So read, output, read. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong drive. So in SSIS D drive, output read, we created that file just now, 836. So let's see what is inside. It is extensive. I mean, there are a lot of information from those 3 packages. First, I'm reading the package. I'm in the function. I'm reading this particular package. That's a simple package. And reading the connections. So there's a connection and the connection string for that particular connection. And done with the reading connection. Then I read the package. I found a task host, which is first. It's interesting actually. The package itself, you can see the first one was it was execute SQL. But in the report, it shows the first one it found was data flow task. The name of the data flow task is data flow task load address. So this is what I was explaining, like it's not in any particular order it's going to get it. So when you try to copy it, you have to be aware of that. When you try to connect those precedence constraints, you loop through the precedence constraints inside a package and find the source and find the destination and do the same thing in the final package, the destination package, the package you are copying it to. That's how you do it. And in the data flow task, it found a task host. So I'm going to read the task host. That's the name of my function, read task host. That's what read TH stands for. Then reading the data flow task, load address. So that's the name of the data flow task, load address. And then it's reading the data flow task, load address, and first reading, it found the get EDW rows. That's the OLADB source. So that's actually, this time it found it in the right order, but I will show you later, like it doesn't happen all the time. So here OLADB source get EDW rows. It found that. And here the component class ID, unfortunately, it is not actually spelling out the English name for that particular control. This is how it shows. But when you copy it into it, I mean, when I copy 2008 package to 2012, you don't have to know that. You can just put this value to that new control, and that will be an OLADB source. Then the connection for that connection manager name is EDW, which we know that there's only one connection, and this is a connection string. And this one is command, open row set. That's a source table. So this is what we were trying to achieve. In my first client, we want to read the table name the package is touching, reading it from, or writing it to. And the second set, and then you can see the the other properties, access mode, the columns. These are the columns that produced by this OLADB source. Then reading the insert into destination. That is the destination control. Insert into destination. And this one have a different component class ID, as you can see. In the connection manager, it's the same. You can see the destination table is different. Of course, this is something we are looking for. You are looking for. Then because it's a destination control, it has other properties. So this is called custom property. Custom property is actually not all controls will have the custom properties. Custom property collection is available only for certain controls. So OLADB source destination, of course, has it. Some of the controls doesn't have it, and the custom property collection is very different between the controls. So you have to loop through that collection and find individual ones and find the name and find the property. That's how you do it. Then the path between these controls. The name of the path is OLADB source output. That is this one. So you can see OLADB source output. And the start point, okay. So for a path, there are two important things you have to read. The start point component and the end point component. You can see OLADB source get EDW is a start point and insert into is a destination. And for each column, there is something called lineage ID. The lineage ID is a unique ID or number for each column inside a data flow. So that's going to be unique. So when you copy it in your package, when you create a component, this lineage ID will be different from these columns, because when you create a component, that's when it gets assigned. So when you try to copy a 2008 package to 2012, the 2012 package you just created will have a totally different ID, but it's going to be unique across the data flow. Then it's reading that path is complete. Then looking into the mapping. So this is where I find the mapping. I find each column is mapped to student ID, blah blah blah. So that is the destination mapping is done. That task host, one of the task hosts, which is data flow task, it's complete. Then data flow task is done. Then the second task host, which is execute SQL. You can see very little information about it. You don't need a lot of information. It has a SQL statement, it has a connection, it has a SQL statement source type, and there are other properties. I'm not writing each and every property of those controls. So that's the first package. The second package, as I said, it's not too different from the first one, except that the controls are inside a sequence container. So this one, I see that the found sequence container. Then I do the same thing inside the sequence container. Go through it. Go through. Run through the controls and find each executable. Get the same exact values because the package is same. I can show you that. It is not different from, 2008. The sequence package, it is not different from the other one, except that it is in a sequence container. The source and destination is the same. So I don't have to go through that again. So the third one, it's pretty much the same thing. It has the sequence container, the connections are same, and the EDW rows, you found it. So now you can see after the OLADB source, it found insert into destination. So it found the destination before the derived column. So the package actually it's in a different order. See, after OLADB source, derived column. So this is what you have to be careful about when you copy or create this object. After creating all these controls, finishing all the properties, then only you can create the path, and that's only when you can find the source and destination of these paths. So otherwise, then you go through the path collection and you'll try to find the source and the destination of that path. It may not be there until you create all the controls. So that's the order you have to execute. I'm trying to explain it again and again. Hopefully it's not boring. So then we found the derived column and the component class ID, and output column name is full name, expression. So here there is one thing. This expression is actually, this is a lineage ID of those two columns, first name and last name. And the friendly expression, it explains first name, last name. This is what you see in the package. So here you'll see the first name, last name, but behind the scene, it uses that ID. And when we copy this control to the new control in 2012, we cannot use this. You don't have to do this. You use the friendly expression, it will get it, because this expression can be very complex. You don't want to parse it and try to find the exact, the right lineage ID and all those things. So you can see that 20 is first name and 23 is the last name. So we don't have to do this. We can just use a friendly expression, it will do it. Then everything else is pretty much same. So that is the first demo. And the second one is a simple one. It doesn't have a lot of code inside. Okay, second one doesn't have a lot of code inside. It just creates a package based on some basic information I provide. This is something, just to show that even for a non-technical, non-SSIS person can create an SSIS package. And this is the least interesting piece of it, because I know that Bimal can do it. But I have some doubts about it. I didn't use Bimal in real life. I played with it. I think it works only for databases, database source and database destination. I don't know. I mean, if it does other things, that's fine. Otherwise, this will be interesting. You can write a package, a script to read from any source, Excel, text file. You don't even have to know the structure. Assume that you're getting a lot of files from different clients in different format. Excuse me. And you want to load those files into a table. Excuse me. So here I am providing the destination server name. This is only 2012. There is no 2018 inside this one. And there's a source connection, which is my catalog is database is EDW, and destination connection staging. So we are pulling something from EDW to staging. And the table name is EDW address. If you remember, this is the same table I was reading in my previous package. So I have only one table in that database. I'm reading this table and putting into staging database. That's what this is going to do. And the connection, when you create the connection in SSIS 2012 or 2014, you can create it at the project level or package level. So I'm creating the project level. I think we are running a little low on time, so I'm going to execute it. So once I execute it, it's going to be deployed to this folder. So there is nothing here now. So let me execute it. 2012, create new package. Okay, it should be already created the package, deployed it, configured it, and ready to run. So I can see that the package is here. You can see the project is created. Inside the project, I created a package called EDW address, and I have an environment which should have two connection variables, and those two connections I provided. And in the project configuration, you can see we are using those variables. Okay, and so this is actually supposed to load that data from EDW address to staging EDW address. So let me see. So right now there is no data. I'm going to execute this package, see if it works. So of course I have to use this environment variable. And yes, it will finish in a second. Okay, it succeeded. So now those three records are here. Simple, right? I'm going to go through the next demo, and then probably if you have time, I can talk about it. So I'm going to convert three packages in my input folder. These packages, those three packages I explained in 2008, I'm going to convert into 2014. So I'm going to execute it. And I will convert those packages as well as I will deploy it to the server. And we can also open the package and see how it looks. So now under projects, so that new project is here, and I should see three packages, all the three are there. And there should be a new environment which should have only one variable. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. This one. So it has only one variable which is pointing to that EDW. So that is there. Now this one was writing into a different table. It is writing into same database, is EDW database to student address. So now there shouldn't be any record in the student table. I'm going to execute the first one, which will add those three records, and one column will be blank, which is the student full name. Excuse me. Okay, that is still running. Okay. Okay, succeeded. So now you should see three records here. This is student full name is null. Now I'm going to execute the one with the derived column, which should populate that student name. All right, that is succeeded. We close these reports, and now you can see that values written into this table. Real quick, I want to show you those packages. That project actually with those three packages. A couple of little information. So to do that, the project, the way the project was created, it is a deployment file. So the 2014 converter, you can see an ISPAC file here. I'm going to open that into a new project. So go to new project. You go into the integration services, import wizard, and the location. You can choose whatever you want. And then project deployment file. You read that particular file and convert into a so SSIS output 2014 converted. It's the right folder. So I'm going to open it, and you can get into a solution actually, a project attached to the solution. So see those three packages, and I created one connection manager at the project level instead of the package level, and that you can see the information is here. And this is just a connection manager file, right? So individual packages actually will have all those project level connections. That's where you set the expression. You can see there is an expression behind that connection manager, which is pointing to the project connection string, which is a project level variable I created on the fly, and I linked that connection string to this connection string expression. And the parameters, you will see one parameter based on the number of connections. I had only one connection between three packages. I created that value. This is what the configuration environment is actually pointing to. This environment I was showing here. So this way, there's only one variable, and in the configuration, we can see that environment variable is used to here. So the parameter actually converted to this particular, it's pointing to that environment variable. So that's how we do it. So inside the project, the solution, you see that connection manager and individual packages. And you can see, have a look at the package. You can see it is a sequence container, same exact names and name and everything. Yeah, I do have a little warning which I didn't notice before. Anyway, it's a warning and it works. So, and inside that, you will see three component controls, OLED source, same name, everything, and the expression, first name, last name, and the mapping, it is pointing to the right mapping to the student address table. And that concludes the demo. We have just only 5 to 6 minutes. So let me really go through the couple more slides. Hopefully it won't take much time. Sorry, back to the first one. Okay, so there are a couple of, there are a few things, like I did not do actually. It doesn't work for multiple inputs or outputs. So I assume right now there's only one input for any control and there's only one output. We can easily do it, but I didn't have the time to do it. Then the second thing is the configuration for individual packages. Those packages have hard-coded connections. They didn't have any configurations, so I didn't code for the configurations. And I also didn't try to load the package, read the package from MSDB. I assume that it's not going to be very difficult. And also I have to work on the events. So this slide actually probably, because it's too late, I'm not going to go through it. And there are some important components. If you go through these slides, these important classes, I would say, you can see that, almost everything, metadata components, component metadata is the control, data flow control, right? And there is a collection of it. So you see for each component metadata inside, component metadata collection. That's how you read it. Same with output. Output is the path from the source, from the controls. Some of the controls doesn't have output, some of the controls have it, because OLEDB source have an output, OLEDB destination. Well, it also has an output, which is the error output, and then the output and input. This is output, that path. For that path, we have the output collection and input collection. And the custom property. Some of the controls have custom property, some of them don't have it, and the properties varies. And the path, and the precedence constraints. These are the class names. If you want to try something, like you can Google for these things. And MSDN have a lot of documentation for all these things. Then I also provided the links I found online. These are great people, providing this information. It's all over the place, but I didn't find exactly what I was trying to do. Converted 2008 into 2012. That's why I did it. But if you are looking for just creating a package, or just reading a package, probably you will be able to find this information somewhere online. But to convert it, you have to know how to copy it. I had to learn that the controls are not in the right order, blah blah blah, all those things. So that's what it is. One more thing, that BML, like I said, I didn't have much information. So if you are just trying to create a control, a package in 2012, probably like a lot of time, that BML will be the best source. You don't have to write these extensive packages or the C# script. Okay, that's the. You can send any questions to my email ID, jemini.joseph@bi-datasolutions.com, bi-datasolutions.com. So that concludes the demo, the presentation.
Okay, we do have actually a couple questions that have popped up, and so we've got a few minutes. We can try to answer those.
Okay.
One of the first questions that popped up that came up is your code looks very much similar to SMO. Is this part of the same code library?
Part of it. I can, in one of my slides, I do have a reference to SMO. Okay. A lot of it is not. So it's a combination of multiple things.
Sure, exactly. Trying to read through this next one, and hopefully I'll be able to convey it to you. How different is these reading processes different from execution results? Can one not get similar extractions from the results of executing packages?
Well, execution package spit out the result, right? It doesn't tell you, the component properties. So like I said, the main reason I did this, I wanted to convert 2008 into 2012. To do that, definitely we won't get it. So to do that, you have to write this code to get individual properties to populate the new control and make it work. So the execution result, especially in 2012 and 2014, there are, we have great details. It's sure. Mostly data related, but not the objects.
Exactly. The next question that came up is, how do you search a package that references a table? I'm not sure where that one was going.
That's what I was explaining in my first demo, which is, it's in the data flow. So that table, it can be in the data flow, it can be in the execute SQL. In the data flow, the property is called, either it is an OLEDB source or OLEDB destination. The property is called open row set. If you look for that, you will find it. I can you still see my screen?
We sure can.
Oh, okay. So let me open that one of the report. So here, see, this is a table, open row set. That's part of that OLEDB source. And also, OLEDB destination have a different table. So that's where, you will find that information.
Alrighty. Let's see.
Does that answer that question?
I think so. I think that was what they're asking.
Okay.
Next question was, why not use the conversion wizard?
Of course, you can use it. Suppose you have 100 packages. You want to configure it using the new environment, in integration services catalog in 2012, 2014. How long it will take?
Sure.
That's the only reason. I mean, if you have 10 packages, 1 package to 10 packages, you don't even worry about spending time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like my interest is, like many others there in working in this field, we are all geeks, so we are curious to know what's going on. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's easy.
Exactly. Let's see. One more question here I think we have time for, and then we'll have to head on out. It says, any suggestions on dealing with custom tasks?
I did not try that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yep. No worries.
Actually, still I'm working on it. I have a few more controls to try.
Exactly. I kind of have went down that same path too, so definitely.
But from what I know so far, it is going to be another executable. It will have all these properties, all these like the classes. The properties will be different. It will have the same classes as any control. Otherwise, it won't work with SSIS. That's what I know.
Okay. Perfect. Like I said, I think we've run out of time. A couple of people have asked, are we sharing the slides? Yes, there will be a recording will be posted to the SQL Pass Business Intelligence Virtual Chapter YouTube channel. It usually takes a couple of days, and so it'll be out there and available again in a couple of days for you to take a look at.
Okay.
Again, we appreciate your presentation today, Jemini. We're very grateful for the opportunity you took to show us all these good nuggets of information. And again, if anyone is interested in presenting in the future, feel free to shoot us an email. Just go to bi@sqlpass.org, and the email address is right there. So again, thanks everyone. And
thank you from my side too for attending this presentation. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I will try to help. I love to help. I love to learn these kind of things. We will learn together.
Exactly. Thanks. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.